So I have to ask, we ask all the kids and anybody that's part of Read and Rap all the time, who your favorite rapper?
Oh, I got to think about that. You can't put me on the spot with that because y'all know I went to. Did you know I went to high school with Slim Thug?
So that's it.
I can't say that though. I can't say that because I also went to high school with Paul Wall. I went to high school with a lot of local Houston rappers, so I can't. I can't have a favorite, but I'm gonna say Houston, right? Like I have to. I'm Houston, so I gotta say Houston.
Hi everyone, I'm Jordan Lee Harris, and I'm one of the leadership members of Education Entertainment, and I have with me Douglas Johnson, Jan Small, and we're proud to be here with Amanda Edwards, who is running for Congress. And so today we're just gonna have a conversation just about what she's doing in her campaign and what some things we can look forward to, and just really a conversation about like how we know each other and why we're choosing to support you and social, right? So first I wanted to ask, like, how was that interaction? Like, how did we all meet?
So, interestingly enough, I ran for, and first of all, thank you for coming together and having this discussion with me around innovation and just the incredible work y'all done. You guys inspire me because you guys are really creating pivot points in what you're doing with education. So that's actually how we met. Years ago, I think back in 2017 or 16, 18, 17. Yeah, so I got an invitation to come out to, I think it was at the Microsoft store, to come out. And I was a city council member at the time, and you get a lot of invites to do things like that. And but I said, reading with a rapper, what's that? And so I just remember being curious about it. So I said, oh, this sounds interesting. And one of my big goals as a leader is to innovate. And I think as you innovate and you focus on innovating, then you grow and you improve and you solve problems. And so I said, oh, this sounds interesting. So I went and I thought it sounded interesting. And when I tell you I fell in love with what they were doing, it was just remarkable. So I was just head over heels. Oh my gosh, we need more of this. How do we make this something that is widespread and available to students everywhere? And I was just blown away, and I invited them to City Hall. So I think, did y'all think I was really going to do that?
No, I mean, absolutely. I mean, and for the record, you would be first and only still elected official to really open your doors to us, to even allow us to do that, and even treating council members as if they were kids. Taking over the City Hall for a day was really interesting, and at the time, even getting Mayor Turner almost close to freestyle, which was
Yep.
icing the icing on the cake. So no, we believed it when you first physically came to the store. I think that was the first introduction, and from there we knew that you truly cared about what was going on beyond your title and position.
Yeah.
So that was really important for us because it's all about collaboration and community. When you speak.
Yeah, and we appreciate you having that vision back then and that mindset to kind of understand what we were doing or have the want to understand. Because I think a lot of times, even when you're talking about like innovation, a lot of times you don't. There's a lot of pushback. Nobody wants to innovate. That's doing something new around the old idea. So just for you wanting to do that, and I think that kind of changed a lot for how we saw public officials and how we were able to kind of maneuver in that space.
Yeah, I see us like being on parallel tracks where you guys are innovators in education. You're trying to change the way people think about it, perceive it, receive information, but more importantly, the results, right? Like that's the point of the innovation. It's not just new and popular for fun's sake or popularity's sake. It's about doing something different so you get different results. And in your case, you just happen to be at this really beautiful intersection of innovation, pop culture, kids, and just this grave need we have in our community with respect to reading and that gap, really being able to address that gap. And so when I saw that, I just got excited because as an elected and as a public servant, I've tried to be someone who not just looks at the challenges as they arise, because you always have to do that. I call this walking and chewing gum, but you have to look up and seize the opportunity. And in my mind, that means you have to have vision. And you've got to have a vision of where you're trying to head, where you're trying to go. And if you have that vision, when there are people, entities, groups that can plug into that, you don't always have to be the driver of that change. You know, you can bring it and use your platform to help be a catalytic spark for that particular change. And so for me, it's about, you know, dealing with the challenges as we face them, but also seizing the opportunities that you otherwise might miss because you're too busy kind of responding to things only, as opposed to seeing what's around you and what can be. And, you know, I like to talk about what can be, not just where we've been, because I think when we talk about where we've been exclusively, you're just looking in the rearview mirror, and you gotta drive forward.
So I have to ask,
Okay.
we ask all the kids and anybody that's part of Read and Rap all the time, who's your favorite rapper?
Oh, I got to think about that. You can't put me on the spot with that,
come
because
at the end.
y'all know did you know I went to high school with Slim Thug?
So that's it.
I can't say that though. I can't say that because I also went to high school with I went to high school with a lot of local Houston rappers, so I can't have a favorite, but I'm gonna say Houston, right? Like I have to. I'm Houston, so I gotta say Houston. So, we all went to Eisenhower. That was like producing the rap scene in Houston. You didn't know that?
How was that?
That was a thing.
How was that?
What was it like?
Yeah, what was it like?
It was funny to me because when we were growing up, I think they were a year ahead of me, both of them, and sometimes there would be disruption in the hallway. And you didn't know what it was. It might be an impromptu concert happening. Who knew? It was a lot of fun. We had a lot of good students there, and a lot of fun when we were going to things.
So they were rapping back then.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was Slim Thug. Yeah. Oh,
So
hey,
let me ask you a question. Growing up and going to Eisenhower, specifically you know, on the north side of Houston, Fifth Ward, this is the actual district that y'all
Acres.
Home, I'm sorry. And now you're representing that, running for that. How does that make you feel that you have that responsibility and obligation to do that? And then the touch points of how important that is for you, for somebody that's from there to be represented.
Oh, it's such a full circle moment. You know, I not only grew up there, I grew up in the area my whole life, but my family's from the area. So my family lived in Acres Home for generations. My family also lived in Fifth Ward for generations. So we have a lot of deep roots in the 18th Congressional District, which is the seat that I'm running for Congress. And so when I tell you this is just full circle on many levels, it also is full circle from, you know, my uncle's old shoe shop on Lyons Avenue and the fact that he used to mentor young boys as shoe shine boys so they could keep their grades up. And now, of course, I announced my candidacy on Lyons right down the street. He was really close to Mickey Leland, who, of course, held the seat. And it's just very full circle also because I remember growing up in the 18th Congressional District and being aware of what was happening. And that fact, I worked in Washington in the 18th Congressional District after I graduated from college. So this really is a full circle experience for me. And I want people to know, I remember going back to the Eisenhower, we had our 50th anniversary last year. And so I came back and gave a speech and I just, you know, I'm always nosy. So I decided to just go look around the school and see who was there, even though it was the summertime. And lo and behold, I said, well, let's go to the gym. And I went into the gym, and a little known fact, I used to play sports in high school. I did. I played volleyball and basketball. Okay. Yes, I have these big hands. Y'all never. I was a shooting guard. I didn't start. So I started off. I was tall when I was growing up, like little, like when I was in middle school, and then I just stopped growing. So at first I was like a forward, and then I just went all the way down. So by the time high school came, I wasn't growing anymore. I think I stopped at like seventh grade. That seventh grade, they thought I was going to be a monster, you know, with a hammer. So anyway, I played basketball and volleyball, and I went in the gym, and the volleyball team was there. So it was really, really cool. I got a chance to go inside. It was completely a surprise to both of us. And this, you know, I was talking to the young ladies at the time, talking to them about me running for office, and they asked me a question, and they said, where are you from? And I said, right down the street. And it was just such an impactful moment because it communicated to them, you don't have to be from someplace else. You can be from right here, and you can do whatever it is that you're wanting to do as long as you work hard and, persevere, because you're going to get bumps and bruises along the way. And then you have that dream, you pursue it. So that was a real full circle moment for me.
With us, we always youthful and we always try to find ways to have the future a part of the conversations now. What would you give that 18-year-old that's looking to make a change, that wants to be a part of the process, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have the chance to come in and be a voter in the next couple months.
Yeah.
What would you tell them right now? Because to them, voting in politics is not as cool or desirable.
Yeah. And, it's a situation where, first of all, life and politics, all of this, none of this is a spectator sport. So you can make a choice whether you're going to be part of the change or you're going to be commenting on the change or commenting on what's happening. And for anyone who has an opinion, a view, participate, get involved. And everybody has a lane. And my lane at this point in life is different than my lane at 18, but I was doing stuff at 18. I was class president. I was organizing, students and doing different things. Find your lane, get involved, but have your voice heard. So often it's the case that people will follow where they believe impact will lie. And so if they think that vote, they're not going to talk to you. But if they think you're a voting bloc that might have some ability to impact what's happening in an election, guess what? Your voice becomes more significant to them. And is it right? Probably not, but that's the reality of politics and how it works. And so you got to get in there, get in the game, don't be a spectator. And especially if you have views, if you have an opinion. Social media is a platform, but that's a platform. That's all that it is. It doesn't necessarily change law. You can use that as a complement to that effort, but you really got to get the right policymakers in place, the right leaders in place, those that'll be who want to pursue transformation, not just, somebody who wants to occupy a seat or, be in a role. It's not about positions. It's about what's the impact that you can have. And so I think of myself, I have a personal mission. And my personal mission is about creating a community where all of us, no matter what part of town, north side, south side, whatever part of town you're from, but all of us have an opportunity to thrive, and really dissecting what that looks like in each community. And it's different in each community. What that looks like in Third Ward might be different than what it looks like in Fifth Ward, and that's okay. But dissecting it and then doing something about it. Because it's one thing for me to tell you this and have this conversation or give somebody a speech. And it's another thing to actually put a plan in place and be effective in the role and get it done. And part of getting it done also means that we've got to have as much engagement with people. If you're tired of status quo things, if you don't want the same old, then you got to get in the game. So you may not necessarily at 18 be the person raising your hand to run, but you certainly can support candidates that are. You can block walk with them. You can talk to your fellow seniors, your senior class. You could be organized.
Impact them.
Absolutely, 100%. Absolutely. And so for those, and sometimes people say, I don't want to vote because I don't like my options. And sometimes in life, you don't always get to vote always for what you want, the most desire. Sometimes it's about what's the best of the options presented. But if you don't vote, if you don't participate, there are severe consequences. And we learned that when Trump got elected. I think a lot of people said, I'm not sure I want to vote for, Secretary Clinton. I'm not sure if I like her or whatever. And they stayed home. But when you do that, now we're still trying to dig out from the consequences of the Trump administration. You know what I mean? And so we've got to really pay attention to the fact that we're now on this presidential cycle, getting ready to see Biden potentially beat Trump, maybe, I don't know, round 2. And that's not what a lot of people wanted to see. But that's where we are. Now, does it mean you stay home? And the answer is no, because there are consequences of you staying at home. And the consequences are far too severe for our community for us to be able to afford to do that. So, I think about the consequences as it relates to having people who are aligned with what you believe, but also who can do something about it. And you've got to combine the two. and hold people accountable. I will say that too, because, elected officials are very good at showing up and giving speeches, but like, you got to be effective in your role. That's the point of this. Democracy, in my mind, really only truly works when we actually do our jobs. Because if you don't do the job and you told all these people something that excited them, the next cycle they're going to say, I'm not going to vote again because you didn't do what you said. And that's what we are seeing happen, which is counter to what we want to see happen, right? We want more participation, not less. And so one of the things when I was on council, besides for us meeting with you guys, I got a chance to really be inspired by something that happened around Hurricane Harvey. And I learned that a lot of our seniors, although they were mopping up their floors, they were not getting those walls taken out of their houses. Yeah, and so that was going to bring about mold. And so as a result, I mobilized hundreds of volunteers and we just started going door to door. But the first thing that would happen when I would step foot on the doorstep is they'd ask me, what are you doing here? And I'd say, well, I'm your city council member. I'm here to help. Then they'd ask me, but are you up for re-election already? And they'd ask me that question and repeatedly. And it's because we condition our community to believe that the only time we'll stand up and show up is when it's time for us to get something from you versus being there to deposit into your life. And so that's what I seek to change, is really restore people's confidence. Democracy doesn't just start and end at the ballot booth. The ballot booth is step one, but the remaining steps 2, 3, 4, and beyond are about you getting the change that we talk about on the campaign trails. And that's part of our job, is to make sure that we're doing what we say we're going to do and not just telling you what you need to hear in order to get your vote.
I know on top of that, within your district, something that we both have an intersection with is literacy, right? Yeah. Adult literacy is a huge thing, not only in Houston, but also the country. And then that's trickling down to youth and families. That's something that we're actively trying to solve, is that issue, because if you can teach somebody how to read and write at a certain level, they can do so many other things. Yeah. And within your campaign and what you're running on, education and innovation is at the forefront of that. Can you talk about how your plan is going to be able to not only impact the district, but could possibly, what we're doing with the entire country?
Yeah, I think we should, on the federal level, one of the wonderful things you get to do is try to incentivize the behaviors you want to see more of. And if we could try to make some grant funding available, for example, with respect to innovation pedagogy or, tools for schools to help them innovate. And thinking about innovation, thinking about literacy, the tools are key to having people have economic empowerment. And so some of the things I talk about a lot, I talk about healthcare access, but I also talk about economic empowerment. That's truly the key to liberation and freedom, is by having the opportunity and the ability to support yourself and to have that freedom to make different choices. And economically, you only get there. You only get to that space if you have the education. And so innovation around education, innovation in general, entrepreneurship is something I'm really passionate about, because it gives people the tools to become whoever it is that they want and seek to be. And look at what you guys have created. Did y'all always know? I'm gonna ask you a question. Did y'all always know you wanted to be entrepreneurs, or is that something?
Definitely.
So tell me the story.
Well, for me, I don't like. Really enjoyed that concept, and it just got to a point where it's like, okay, I need to be in charge of my own schedule. I want to do exactly what I want to do. I want to work on things that I want to work on. That's why I started my firm. So, and I attribute a lot of my journey to these gentlemen, because I reached out to them years ago when I was still at college, just on some liking what they were doing. And we all just have like mindsets of we want to be working for ourselves and we want to do our own thing.
Yeah.
And so here I am, 11, 12 years later. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I feel like Doug and I we have a specific call. I feel like it's just a purpose that we just know we want, because we were those kids. And so we just know how kids today are feeling, because we were those kids feeling the same way 10, 20 years ago. It's hard to really explain, but we just know we wanted to do this because it was the right thing to do.
Yeah. And we actually met before with Legends.
Right.
Yeah. And you gotta think we were started our very first business was a nonprofit, where a lot of times most people, we almost start a business, it's a for-profit, or which is nothing wrong with that. But our initial idea out of college was giving. Like, how can we build a foundation on giving and allowing other people to be them best selves, and what can we build around that? So I think our idea was just totally different, but I think I just stemmed from our just our mutual mindsets of like, hey, how can we create the change that we want to see, literally? So now, we're in the we would really love to see build the future that we want our children to live in, and these future generations. So.
We just had a head start. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We bumped our heads really early. A lot. And
Right.
We had a great point where, meeting you in 2018 and kind of told you what this was, and you was like, this makes sense. Immediately, you was like, this needs to be at City Hall. Like,
Yeah.
You didn't even rush. You brought us into a city council meeting. You literally told everybody on the mic, like, hey, this is that. And this was before COVID.
Future of education. You have kids who are not even interested necessarily in these reading terms. You listen, you put these headphones on, they're pretty cool, they have colors on them and stuff, they have, interesting lighting in the room, and you're looking at the screen that has rap lyrics on it, and you're looking at songs you may be familiar with, but then they say, well, find the simile.
Think about that. We were saying all these things about we don't change education, and we don't do these things, we're going to be in trouble.
Before it was
Like,
exposed at
Yeah.
large.
right. People were like, man, we're going crazy. And we need a solution. And man, I was over here like, I told y'all. What's going on? You know what I mean? So I think it's important to always show that private, public, and community can work together.
Yeah.
And I think we were all doing it without knowing, because our intent was the right thing about how do we just help people.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing that draws us to where we're supporting you, and why we want to see you blossom to where we know you're going to be, because we know that your intent is in the right position.
And I want to back up because I don't think everybody knows what reading with a rapper is. So I want to tell you what my experience was and why I fell so in love with it. So the fact that when you walk into this room, first of all, like, just imagine boring afternoon, 2:00, you're a student, you walk into the room and it's the club. That's what it is. They got dark walls. It's literally the club, and you're like, I'm at school, but I'm at the club. It's a club. Like, they have light show in the room. They hand you these like glow in the dark headphones, and you sit down for this experience. So you're sitting down. There's a screen before you. It's dark. With a light, with the lighting, whatever y'all, with the blues and yellows. I don't know what y'all special colors are. Your branded colors. I know you probably work with that, so get the branding right. But you go in there, so it's an experience that somebody's having, and then piping into your ear and your headphones are your favorite rap songs, and you say, "Oh, we're gonna be listening," and it's like, no, now find the metaphor, and it's like, the metaphor. Where is that? And so you are immediately, they draw you in to the things that meet you where you are as a student or a young person. So you're immediately grabbed by that. But then all of a sudden it's an introduction into a world of learning. But you're not going to say, oh, I don't want to. And then you get to listen to the song again and like, oh, that's the metaphor right there. Mm-hmm. And so all of a sudden stuff that would ordinarily be beyond boring to you to hear, and you might be checked out from addressing or listening to, you're sucked in because of how it was presented to you.
Yep. And then artists come that don't know where to come talk to you.
So remember, y'all brought Meek Mill.
Yeah. I remember that. We brought Meek Mill. You got us to be able to have Meek Mill at City Hall on a Sunday.
Yeah, on a Sunday.
All the boys there that we did the program for at that time, they were all on probation due to My Brother's Keepers Redirection in our program.
Yeah.
And we called you, said, hey, we got an idea. We want to host this event here. It was like, okay. We're going to try to make it work. And I mean, you made it work. I mean, the DA was there. The mayor was there. You were there. Everybody came, and we showed everybody at that point, this is how you fix a problem.
Yeah.
And not put a Band-Aid on it. But it was all of us collectively together in our agencies and organizations trying to fix for 4 young men, just for 4 kids. Even with me, he's like, man, I'll stay extra on my day of the tour just to do this. So it shows you that everybody wants to do, but I think people just don't know how to.
So when you reached out to different prominent rappers, like, initially, was it hard for them for you to get yeses, or were they immediately kind of yeses? How did that work?
No, I think
Because now anybody tells you yes.
Yeah, I think a lot. Even initially, I think it wasn't a hard yes, because everybody has that experience, or they've been kids themselves, or they have kids themselves. So I think once you kind of be able to break it down what it is they're actually learning and how they can use their story and their music to better somebody else and strengthen skills, especially literacy skills when it comes to reading with a rapper, I think it's an easy yes, because everybody wants to help. They just don't know how. So this is a way for them to do it in the way that they, do best, or whoever they are as people.
Yeah. Artists in the day, they just want to be understood. That's really the tracks and say what they say. And so to say that I'm saying, okay, well, someone's listening to this from a different lens, and like they're trying to break down what I'm saying and like really understand me. They love that.
Yeah, and we don't really care about you being famous.
Yeah.
Right? That's not a thing for us. We care about, do you care? Because these kids are listening to you in a different perspective. And we're also giving you a place and space to expand upon the things that you grew up on, right? So they're just reflecting their community, their area, what they're seeing in real time. So if you don't like it, it's not because of what they're saying, it's just where they are, So if we change the space, they could change their conversation.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing that we're seeing throughout the last time since the opening in 2018. We've 500,000 kids, we have 6 cities. But
Just
this room
cities.
but the room that we're in right now, this is the first of its kind, like a whole space that's dedicated to just teaching and learning. But that was because of what you did in 2018. We wouldn't be at this step now if you didn't say, hey, I see what y'all are doing. Let's have a bigger conversation about how this could be a part of, a bigger conversation with the city.
Yeah, and I just think that in this whole conversation speaks to the fact that as a community, we all have to be kind of looking at this common thread on what is it that we can be doing? What's our part? So your part is very different than the next person, but everybody has a role to play in this ability to create this community where we reach our full potential. That's what I want to see. And so if I can use my platform to elevate you so that you can go elevate these students and get them reading and literate, absolutely, hands down. That's in alignment with my mission. Even though I don't have anything to do with your day-to-day operations and how you get things done, I'm inspired by it. And I believe we need to be in the business of inspiring growth and inspiring opportunity and inspiring improvement and inspiring change and solutions to the challenges that we face. And so you sound like you're in the same business as I'm in. If you don't have to go to the voters, but in truth, I think that's what this needs to be about. And we've got to break down some of these walls. I think there's a lot of silos that we work in. I'm in education, or I'm in law, or I'm in politics. That's really, at the end of the day, we have this common thread as a community that we can build upon and around. And for me, when I announced that I was running for Congress, I actually did it on Juneteenth.
Wow.
Because I wanted people to realize and think not about focusing it on me as an individual, but instead, where are we today? And at this point in our collective journey, and at that time, Juneteenth, because that's a day to reflect of where we've come from, but where should we be going? And as we think as a collective, where should we be going? What are the ways that we can get there? And so when we see people who have novel concepts and who can really be game changing and change makers, put them, elevate them. When I saw y'all, y'all were at the Today Show, right?
Yeah.
Like, tell me what that was like. I'm like,
we brought the Today Show to Fifth Ward.
That's
they were
crazy.
lit. You know what I mean? That was the kids at Fleming Middle School.
And for those that don't know, I'm a Today Show watcher.
Okay. Oh, man. And, the kids there were just exposed to something differently. Anybody that was there in that time, you could just tell their eyes was just like, what's happening? What's going on?
Yeah.
And we try to do as much as possible when we do these classrooms, because there's a classroom there at Fleming where we expose the kids. So when we do commercials, the kids at Fleming are in the commercial. All right, so we give them as much exposure as possible. That was amazing. They gave us a national platform to talk about what we're doing and what we're solving out loud, and how they want to be a part of that solution.
Awesome.
I know we only got a few more minutes left.
Well, I was gonna say, as Congresswoman, what's on top of your issues list that you're trying to tackle?
Well, first of all, like I said, creating the communities where everybody thrives, no matter what your background, no matter what your age, no matter what your neighborhood. And that includes things like economic opportunity, education, housing, just some of the meat and potatoes, healthcare, things that if you don't have them, you're not going to be able to thrive. And then going beyond that and really thinking about how do we create catalytic growth. So having a proactive vision on how do we create a community of entrepreneurs? How do we introduce that into the classroom at an early age? Can we incentivize some of that? Really trying to reduce some of the disparities that businesses of color face when they're trying to get the bank loan or trying to expand their business, and helping to really provide resources and make them more readily available to businesses of color. These are things that excite me when I think about when people talk about, for example, Houston and our community being the most diverse in the nation. And I said one day, well, what good is it to be the most diverse if we're not solving the challenges that our diverse communities face? And that's equity. And so really focusing on equity, outcomes, deliverables, change. And so I'm so excited that we were able to come together and have this conversation. I guess now, what is it, 6 years later?
Right.
It's just kind of crazy how
Right,
fast
you
it
can say
goes,
that.
but I'm so proud of y'all. And I just commend you for the work that you do and how much you are inspiring others and, of course, educating our students.
You know, thank you. And we are inspired by the work that you're doing because we know when you say something, you're going to do it.
That's right.
And so,
We appreciate you from all those years back, from supporting us, and we're just super excited that we're in a position now to bring value back to you, to pour back into your cup like you poured back into ours. So,
Yes, there was a no-brainer. We said we had to support you in some sort of way. And so we were happy to do this.
Well, I'm so elated. And for those, make sure you tell everybody the election day is coming up.
it's coming
March
up. Go
5th.
vote. Go vote. Go
March
vote. Go vote.
5th, March 5th,
March
March 5th.
5th.
Early vote is February 20th to March 1st. So I better not actually see any of you in a line on March 5th because y'all voting early. Am I right?
Voting early. You got it
Okay,
early.
February 20th through the 1st. Okay, very good. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
thank you.